Hi, my name's Tony Tarlano. I've been with Exablox basically almost from the beginning. Some of the founders I used to work with at another company, and we were talking, and we thought that we could make storage better. So basically, that means that in today's world, right? You have a hard drive. It only is so big, right? You buy it, 4 terabytes or whatever it is. It's not going to grow any further than that, right? And that sort of sucks, right? Basically, we can do better than that, right? We can do better. We can actually scale out. And so what we want to do is make the hard drive that never ends, right? And that's for our customers. So customers have storage. They always are creating more data, and storing it, and that needs to be protected, and that needs to grow with them. We'd like you to come and work with us. We're doing great things. We're reimagining storage. We're doing everything from cloud managed storage, cloud access to storage, enterprise storage. Many times I'm asked, well, what about cloud storage only, right? Why would you need to have a local storage solution as well? Well, the truth of the matter is that it depends on who's accessing this storage, right? Certain client applications, they work best across the LAN. And the simple fact is that the LAN is always going to have, well, majority of the time, it's going to have a faster bandwidth. So in that case, right, not going across the WAN to access your data, like if you have a database or you're some imaging machine that's doing CAT scans or bank applications, or you're doing video editing, basically you benefit from not having to go across the LAN. The LAN has latency and it also constricts your throughput, right? And so basically what we would like to do is we would like to give the same features of cloud-based storage, access from anywhere, any device at any time, using browsers, phones, tablets. But we would also like to do that and give good performance on the local LAN to be able to have all of those applications that really are data hungry, whether they be virtual machine hypervisors or, like I said, video editing or CAT scan machines or whatever they are, and that really need to move a lot of data back and forth between storage, transform that data, and then, of course, store it and use it again. There's lots of different companies in the Valley, and I highly recommend that you come to the Valley. The energy that's here is second to none in the world. And when I say in the world, I really mean in the world. I lived in Europe for 9 years. I worked over there. It's nice. It's a great time. In fact, I recommend that each of you come live here and live there at some point in your life. But the truth of the matter is, if you really want to be in an ecosystem, in an environment that is just truly creative, one that you really feel like you're at the front, one where you run into people in Starbucks or grocery store or bar or wherever you happen to be, and they're just so interesting, they're working on interesting products, and passionate and really want to make an impact in the world, then you really have to come here. So Exablox is, I believe, a quality startup backed by quality investors that is going to really change and have an impact on people's lives. And that's actually one of the things that keeps me here, and it makes me come to work every day and feel like the luckiest person in the world. If you'd like to interview with Exablox, what I recommend that you have an up-to-date resume, and not only your resume, an up-to-date repository. It's sort of one of these things that really differentiates candidates. Some candidates write about, oh, I can write software and I've developed applications. But really the best thing for you to do for yourself is actually have some examples of that. And I'm not talking about necessarily, you have to go get an internship like you would necessarily be applying for to be able to get an internship that you're applying for. But what I do recommend is that you actually have a Git repository. It has, of course, your work, and that you maintain it over time, right? And so it shows a steady progression of your craft. Because really, in reality, writing software is nothing more than like painting a painting, right? Rembrandt wasn't the painter he was when he began, that he was when he ended, right? And so your craft will always become better. Whatever level you're at now, you will be better in 5 years, as long as you keep practicing, right? So please, a resume and a Git repository on your resume really helps out. And so here's what to expect if you actually would like to talk with us and come and see if you could join our team. you should submit your resume. Someone will contact you, and you'll have probably a Skype call or some sort of WebEx sort of meeting. We'll get to know you, you'll get to know us, and we'll make that first decision whether you're a candidate that looks interesting and that we're a fit for you and you're a fit for us. No one really wants to be wasting anyone's time in reality. And then after that, you would come in and you would meet some of the team. It's really important, actually, when you create together a product that you feel comfortable with your teammates and that they feel comfortable with you. Now, one of the nice things I find here at Exablox is that there's a level of intimacy that people can both have weaknesses and strengths, right? And no one has to be necessarily embarrassed or ashamed of their weaknesses. Basically, what happens as a team is that another's weaknesses might be your strength and your weakness might be their strength, and together you're all strong. You would come in, we would talk with you, and if you decide that you like us and we decide that we like you, you would have a coding challenge. Now, it's really not that difficult, I don't think. But, it does require you to do something and to do it with your craft, right? It just gives us a way of seeing how you work. And what I highly recommend is that you do, the right things that you should be doing anyway, which are, writing good, clean code, testing your code, doing some documentation before you hand it off to someone. And that doesn't have to be like a book, but it does need to be, if it needs to be installed, what are the requirements, maybe a requirements file that would actually load the dependencies. These sorts of things really go a long way. And then after the coding challenge, of course, there would be another round of discussions. And then you could come here. In the past, we've had many interns. If we have enough interns, we can rent a house where the interns can actually share the house together. That worked out really well in the past. It allows the interns to actually feel like, they're not alone in a new place, especially if they're coming from the East Coast or the Midwest or, even just another city in California. And it gives them a good camaraderie and a good experience, I believe. On the technical interview process, it really depends on which role or position that you're actually applying for. The two main teams that we have working are a cloud platform team that is used to manage and provision storage that would be on the customer's premise, as well as our file system team. And so let's just take those two as an example. In an interview that would be focused on the cloud platform, if you're going to, let's say, be working on the back end or even on the front end, you would want to know, what is a REST API? You would want to know, how are, single-page apps with JavaScript and CSS, how do they work? Where is the model of the data kept when it's in a single-page app, in the view model? You would want to be able to accurately describe that in a diagram as well, using a whiteboard. Whiteboarding is really a key way where you can actually discuss things where you can just erase and draw the future, right? You're just dreaming on a whiteboard, really. Or you're describing what has happened in the past. Either way, I highly recommend that when you walk in, that you've thought a little bit about the position and a little bit about what you've already done that applies to that position, and be ready to actually describe it. And if you can describe it in, let's say, 5 minutes on a whiteboard, I think you're definitely in the right direction. If we look more at like the file system team, now that's a little bit more specific. Of course, you also need to be able to describe what you've done or, accurately discuss what you've studied on the whiteboard. Now, it might not be a perfect fit because, of course, one of the things we're doing is we're redoing file system to make it object-based, not block-based, meaning that we don't use block-based addressing. But if you can generally talk to the basic principles, you'll have a good interview. And if you've looked at any sort of more advanced topics, such as peer-to-peer distribution networks or object-based file systems, that would really be good for you. As I said, we're reinventing storage. We want you to come, be a part of it. We want you to be able to say, hey, you know what? I remember when there wasn't this object-based storage. It was just like everything was block-based storage. And now, let's say that you're 10 years in the future and you're looking backward and you're like, now everything's object-based storage. And you were there and you were at the beginning of it. So come to Exablox, submit your resumes, look at our jobs that are open. We would really love to talk to you, and hope to see you soon.